Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the EBC Learning Circle. We're very pleased to welcome back Angie and Bill to the circle today, along with a few of their wonderful co-workers. Together, this collection of individuals work together at Nenqayni Wellness Center Society, and we're looking forward to chatting about all the different kind of facets of their work today. Before I get into anything else, I would like to acknowledge that I'm zooming in from the traditional, ancestral, unceded, and occupied territories of the Hunkaminam-speaking Musqueam people. I would also like to acknowledge the First Nations Health Authority for generously funding the UBC Learning Circle and the conversations we get to have. So gentle reminder here, the topics we cover can sometimes be sensitive or emotionally triggering. If that's you for today, please make sure that you're looking after yourself. If at any point you feel that you need to talk to a friend, elder, counselor, or family member, don't hesitate to do so. Please access that support network if you need it. So, introductions. Briefly, my name is Cole. I'm from the Tsleil-Waututh First Nation, and I'll be kind of facilitating the session today, sharing our digital space, but off camera are Cynthia, our production coordinator, and Winona, our program assistant. If you feel so inclined, please introduce yourselves in the chat box. We can kind of get the dialogue started in that way. So without any further ado, like I say, I think I got that done in under a minute. I'm going to pass it over to Bill and Cecil to welcome us here.
Good morning, everybody. My name is William Mansell. I come to you from Williams Lake, BC. I am a proud St'át'imc native from Haklip, down in Lillooet territory, unceded territory. I come to you on the Shuswap territory, the unceded Shuswap territory today, and I want to welcome you here in a good way. As we do each and every time that we start off with drumming and sage and prayer, smudging, to be able to allow the heartbeat of Mother Earth and the spirits of the song to lift our hearts, to combine our smudging ritual as we allow the sacred smoke from the sage to wash over our bodies. We pray for good things to come for us, mind, body, spirit, and soul, that we only see good things, we only say good things with good intentions, and we hear the wisdom spoken around us in a good way. And as we give thanks to Creator for giving us life one more day. So welcome everybody. Cecil, if you want to introduce yourself at this time.
Why Haskahal, why peace naksir, enjoy squeeze milk and wink, enjoy Samachan Cecil, China. Hello, everybody. My name is Eagle Shield, and that's my First Nations name. My English name is Cecil Sheena. I'm from Merritt, British Columbia, Okanagan First Nation. My parents is Abraham Sheena and Janice Sheena, maiden name George. I'm Okanagan / Nenqayni Thompson, and I'm grateful for being here. I'm honored to be part of this team, Nenqayni. I travel this road with the understanding of the land and understanding this culture here, and this culture that we share with Nenqayni is a great healing. It's great healing for myself, along with my fellow co-workers, and I'm grateful to share some of our knowledge and some of the things that we do to help out one another. This is why we come together every time, is to help out one another in any way we can. And through song, through smudge, and through prayer, we help each and one another in every way that we can. I'd like to thank you all for joining. White.
Let's start off with a welcoming song. Oh, you, oh, hey, ala, hello, ala, hello, hello, ala, hello, hello, ala,
Why? This time, I'd like to open it up with our great prayer. Kong chuden, jai squish milk and pen kong chuden, kokoks lim tong kong chuden. For this day, this beautiful day, you honored us with the warmth of the sun, the coolness of the air. Kong chuden, I pray and thank you for letting us open our eyes for another beautiful day on Kong chuden. Kong chuden, I pray that you look after us throughout this day. Look after everyone that's here. Look after everyone that's not here at this time on Kong chuden. Look after our homes, look after our families on Kunchun. Look after those ones that are lost at this time on Kunchun. On Kunchun, I pray and thank you for this medicines that we have here. The medicine of the smudge, the prayer, the songs of having one another here on Kunchun. On Kunchun, I pray and thank you for our relatives for being here to listen to what we have to offer on Kunchun. I pray that you go over to where they're at and look after them, bless them, heal them, take away any pains from any one of us. Put it where it won't hurt anybody ever again, O Konchun. O Konchun, I pray and thank you for the homes that we have and the family and friends that we have on Konchun. On Konchun, I pray that you look after our relatives, look after our people, look after the land on Konchun. At this time, I pray that these waters flow through Mother Earth once again to bring life back, to bring the medicine back, to bring the earth back to life. I pray that Mother Earth will take care of us as we take care of her. I pray that you go into those ones that are lost out in the streets, homeless. For the ones that are lost in the spirit world, help them guide their way. For any food that we may have today, turn this food into medicine for our bodies, soul, and spirit. That'll bless our bodies and give us the strength that we need to continue through this day. For some of this food, I pray it goes to some of our relatives that are in need of this food for strength. The ones that are on the streets, the ones that are sick in the hospitals that are being fed through tubes. That some of the food that we have will be offered to them spiritually, that the strength that will help them continue throughout this day, for the ones that are lost in between spirit worlds, that will help them, guide them to the heavens. I pray and thank you for guiding us here today, to gather like this and to spread the word of love and strength and unity. I pray and thank you at this time. Ahoy, all my relations. Ahoy.
Thank you both very much. That was so beautiful. I feel so supported. I feel so good in this digital space here today. Thank you both. So I think at this time we could transition to the PowerPoint. Angie, do you want to take it away from here?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that introduction, Cole, and thank you, Cecil and Bill, for welcoming us into the space in a good way today. I raise my hands to both of you. My name is Angie Bernoni. I come from the unceded territory of the Chilpepin people. I have the honor of living and working there and raising my family there. I am an afternoon supervisor and program developer for Nenqayni Wellness Center. And if we could pull up the slides, I'll give you a little digital tour of our center. There's our beautiful center nestled in the heart of the caribou, surrounded by mountains and the land. Nenqayni means people of the land, and where our center is situated is on the traditional Hatsul territory. We have a beautiful space that encompasses our relationship with nature. We have water running through, we have the trees, we have all kinds of Mother Earth animals surrounding us, and it's a great place to heal and work and be. We can go on to the next slide. I want to thank you for joining us today as we share Nenqayni successes and lessons learned from our culturally centered First Nations wellness program. Nenqayni focuses on relationships, using culture as a foundation for building attachments and sustaining long-term wellness of the heart, mind, body, and spirit. Our Nenqayni Wellness Center's focuses on individual and family care plans, trauma-informed care, and we emphasize the wisdom of Indigenous ways of knowing and being. Nenqayni's unique approach to holistic healing includes traditional medicines, ceremonies, land-based healing, and our elder share programs to support existing wise practices and evidence-based interventions. This is our main building, and I was going to ask Cecil to tell us why our building is shaped the way it is.
Yes, our building is shaped in the form of the pit house where our relatives used to live in the winter times. There's different homes that our people used back a long time ago. They used pit homes for winter time, and then during the summertime they use teepees, something that's easy to move along the land, to go fishing, to go hunting, go berry picking, and then you come back to your home grounds. And then this is the same shape of the center, is the same shape of the pit house. As you see, the top there is where our opening would be for the pit house. This is a beautiful place, and it's a strong place to look at, even when you look at it, and it's feels good to see a building like this for our center. And this is a resemblance of the building is the pit house. Right.
Thank you, Cecil. Next slide, please. This is our circle where we gather. Our families spend a lot of time in this circle. We do a lot of healing in this circle. We do our sage and prayer in this circle, and this is an excellent space for us to practice our drumming and singing and our cultural work. It has amazing acoustics, and it's just a really inviting, warm space. It's in our main family building. Next slide, please. I'm going to let Bill explain this slide.
Thank you, Angie. I am a traditional dancer, and I believe in our culture. I believe that our culture is healing, and that when we bring our people in, we need to reawaken their spirits, because a lot of our people have lost that to our cultural ways. So when we bring them into Nenqayni, we honor them in a good way. We have a welcoming lunch for them right off the bat. We welcome them into our community. I was once told that once we sit down and we eat a meal together, we become family. So in this way, we join them into our family. We join them into our community as Nen-ky-knee, people of the land. This is followed up by a belonging ceremony. In this ceremony, we bring them together in prayer and song, in the heartbeat of Mother Earth, drumming, through sage and prayer, smudging. We also show them how to make tobacco ties for healing, for protection. We have a ceremony for a brushing off ceremony that we use with cedar. And we have a washing ceremony of juniper water to wash them off with. And then we ask them to drink the water also, because without water, we could not survive. So through our ceremonies, we teach them. And I like to say a reawakening of their spirits as they're at Nenqayni. We also do a brushing off with an eagle fan to help them out. Because the eagle is the one that flies the highest in the sky and brings our prayers to the Creator that much faster, that much stronger. Through our ceremonies, it uplifts their hearts, their minds, and their bodies and their spirits. And it reminds them of who they are and where they come from. And throughout being at Nenqayni, you start to see glimpses of their traditional ways, their cultures coming back to them. They remember who they are, where they come from. Their ancestors start speaking to them. We've had little ones that start singing on the drum, and their parents remember songs from the old days. And it's a beautiful sight to see. And this is why that our culture is so important to us. Many times we say that we need to remind ourselves who we are, why we do the things we do. And it's all our traditional ways. So this is why culture is so important to us. So Cookstown, all my relations.
Thank you, Bill. Next slide, please. This is Cecil. Cecil, did you want to share a little bit?
The culture, like our brothers mentioned, is healing. This is why I sit here today, because of the songs that was sung, the medicines that I used off the land, the people that shared to me that what is life meant for, is to live day by day and to find out what's to become of this day. Culture has helped me journey through my life. I traveled far and wide through the northern part of America here, and to find a lot of our relatives use a similar way of prayer, use a similar way to heal, is with part of Mother Earth. We call her Mother Earth because she's the one who takes care of us. Mother Earth, has everything that we need to live through this life. The medicines, the strength, provides the land full of people, of one of us sitting here. And one day we're going to be back with Mother Earth. Mother is the one who takes care of us. We must take care of our mother the same way that we take care of our own mother. This is what Mother Earth means to me. And everything on this outfit that I use, I dance in a power way. Everything that I use has the Mother Earth colors. And everything that we do is done in a good way. I like to thank everybody for being part of this once again. It's an honor just to sit here and share some of our stories, some of our lives, and some of our teachings with each one and everyone that's here. And have eagle feather is a high honor. You know, we can go find eagle feathers, collect them. To hold an eagle feather, like our brother said, it brings high power. The spirituality of this is to have us connected with the spirit of the eagle. And to hold the eagle feather, it brings us connected closer to God and Creator. And it brings us more humble, more sincere. And to have each and one of you to listen to what we might have offered. And there's going to be questions and answers later on. If there's more questions that are needed of why we dance or why we sing or why do we pray the way we do, you feel free to ask anything, and we'll do our best that we can to answer some of these questions. You know, this way of life is bringing all of us together. You know, it was once lost, but we're coming back together with these ways of using drums, of using dance, of using gathering. And we're here gathering today. I never knew a lot of you. I never knew a lot of my coworkers, but this culture has brought me together with a lot of good coworkers, great coworkers, a lot of people I know along my journey of life. And it's all because of the culture and the traditions that I followed. Thank you.
Can we have the next slide, please? We believe the culture is healing at Nenqayni, and we try to teach it and empower our community members when they come through the sweat lodge ceremony, commitment swear, smudge and prayer, and many other different rituals and ceremonies that we incorporate along with our evidence-based intervention practices to create a whole healing of the mind and body and spirit and heart. Can we have the next slide, please? So our beautiful dancers and work. Culture is healing, both Cecil and Bill in these photographs again. You have the next slide. This is some of our workers at Nenqayni in a drumming circle, singing us and waking us up in the morning, getting our families out into the circle, inviting them to join us through song and prayer. Next slide, please. And in Nenqayni, we're always looking to ways to improve the environment, create a more inviting space. And we have these incredible First Nations artists in our Nenqayni family, and they've been working on murals in the family units to create this space that families can enjoy and really relax in. So as we've been shut down over COVID, we've been doing a lot of improvements to Nenqayni and just creating it less of an institution and building and more of a village and a home. And so we're very proud of the beautiful art that's been created to brighten it and create that invitation and warm space. Next slide, please. This is our dining hall, and our kitchen staff focuses on nutrition, and they're always looking for ways to include traditional foods in our menus. We come together here to eat and share together. Next slide. This is our daycare. We're very proud of our daycare. It's a new building, state-of-the-art, everything. We have an incredible daycare staff who work alongside our parents to create that warm, inviting environment for children, and a daycare space that is everything to support learning through play, both indoor and outdoor for families. Next slide, please. This is our school for our family program, and we have teachers that teach from kindergarten to grade 12, and they come alongside the parents, start relationship with the parents, and then start through that matchmaking and inviting the children into that space to learn. And so we have really great Indigenous teachers that teach both traditional knowledge and Western knowledge. Next slide, please. This is our youth building. We have a 10-bed, 10-unit building with 5 bathrooms. Currently, we're not open at full capacity because of COVID, but when we are, we can take up to 10 youth in this building. Next slide, please. This is some of the art in our building. We really want to encompass the beauty of the Indigenous world and just wrap our youth in it. And they've created paintings, and then we hang and display proudly. And we have many incredible artists at Nenqayni that keep adding to the space and keep creating this beautiful, warm environment for us to work in and for our youth to live in. Next slide, please. This is our reading nook and kind of our chat area. There's a fireplace. We have all kinds of crafts and books, and this is just a space to relax and do some self-care with our youth. And we kind of gravitate towards that area when we're talking in the evenings. It's just a really warm, inviting space. Next slide, please. These are our youth rooms. Our youth rooms are amazing. We have large chalkboards in there so that the children can decorate it and create an individualized space with their artwork. There's lots of space for them to add their own touches to the room, and they have these wonderful bathrooms where they can do self-care and spend their time, you know, as young people taking care of themselves and primming, and they are all very just really nice rooms for young people. The colors are bright, so we really like the way it's been changed over the years and became such a wonderful space to exist in. Can we have the next slide? This is our kitchen. We spend a lot of time in here. We never say, like, you know, oh, go do the dishes. We kind of come along with the youth and do dishes with them, and it's kind of a way to start that conversation and work together, cooking and taking care of each other at the most base level, where I make food for you because I love you and you eat because you love me, and we're sharing that time together. And so I love the kitchen there, that we have that opportunity with youth to create menus and traditionally cook and spend all that wonderful time together. And that's our common room where we do a lot of our workshops. We also do exercise, meditation, and we can relax and watch movies in that space. Next area, or next slide, please. And this is some more of the encouraging artwork and the 7 sacred teachings in the youth building. Next slide. And some more of our artwork. Next slide. And this is our gym. We have a fully equipped state-of-the-art gym with equipment for all levels of fitness. We also have all the games, equipment that we need to do team games. We have everything to do yoga and kickboxing. We have somebody who comes in and teaches jingle dancing, and we just got a grant. So we have a bunch of new updated equipment. We have helmets and ice skates and badminton rackets and fishing gear, and we'll be ready for some fin fishing when communities come into the May programming. We have 2 sweat lodges. In the next slide, please. We have incredibly community involvement. This is sugarcane archaeologists. They take our youth into sacred sites and living sites, and the children get to actually do digs and find artifacts, and they get to hear about the incredible history and the abilities that span thousands of generations to not only survive but thrive and create these incredible communities. And when we take our youth out into these community involved ways with the peace program, with the sugarcane archaeology, it opens up a whole new relationship with them, with their history and with their past and with themselves. And so we really enjoy working with sugarcane archaeology and having that opportunity for our youth. And they also get a certificate when they've done that, that says that they've helped on an actual dig, and that they can go back into their own communities and volunteer or become involved in the own exploration of their communities and their homes. Next slide, please. And this is our sweat lodge and our gazebo. Now we have a second sweat lodge that's been built. So we have 2 sweat lodges, one for our family program and one for our youth program that we utilize. Next slide. And that's our beautiful center in the summer again. And that's kind of the end of our slideshow. We have one more slide, I think. And so there's our address, and our statement of purpose is to provide holistic healing to First Nation and Inuit families and communities in a safe and secure environment. And I'm going to turn it over to Taylor. Thank you.
Thanks, Angie. Thank you, Bill and Cecil. I just want to welcome everybody and thank you for sharing your time with us today. My name is Taylor Ormiston. I'm originally from White Rock, BC, which is on the unceded traditional territory of the Semiahmoo First Nation. I am the youth program coordinator and the equine assisted learning facilitator at Nenqayni Wellness Center, where I've worked for 3.5 years. As Angie mentioned, Nenqayni Wellness Center is on the traditional territory of the Hatsol First Nation. It's about 15 minutes north of Williams Lake. We're governed by the 15 bands of the local 3 nations, the Shuswap, the Carrier, and the Chilcotin, whose chief and council elect our board members. Nenqayni opened in 1983 for individual adult alcohol and drug treatment and started serving families in 1991. Nenqayni started serving youth in 1996, and at that time was just one of 5 solvent abuse centers in the country. Currently, the Youth Family Inhalant Program, or YFIP, has 10 beds, as Angie mentioned. And each of the youth who attend our program are funded up to 16 weeks of program per year, and we serve females age youth 13 to 18. So our youth program cycles generally run between 8 and 16 weeks. And the family program generally runs about 8 weeks per cycle and alternates between single moms with kids and couples or single dads with kids. The FADP building has 4 complete units or 8 shared living units with a capacity around 20 individuals. So it takes a lot of hard work and dedication to run and operate a center like Nenqayni. And today we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the therapeutic and cultural focus of the work we do. But first, I want to acknowledge the various departments that really make the work we do possible. We have a full-time maintenance team who focus on ensuring that our vehicles and buildings are running smoothly. They also assist with cultural and land-based components of our programming. As Angie mentioned, we have kitchen staff as well, who order and prepare meals and also provide some nutritional education. We have an administrative and financial team who keep us running smoothly and ensure accreditation, licensing, and training requirements are being met. And we also have a night shift team of coaches and custodians that provide overnight care to our community members and help to keep our facilities clean and everyone on site healthy. So I want to acknowledge and thank everybody who tends to be a little bit more behind the scenes for all the work they do. Everything we do at Nenqayni, all of our programs are based off the medicine wheel. So we focus on finding balance in emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual aspects of health. Our programs are also attachment based, which means that we try to facilitate positive change through safe and secure relationships. Because of this, relationship building is really foundational to all the work we do. So to expand on this and some other aspects of our service delivery, I'd like to turn the floor over to Cora.
Thank you, Taylor. Of course, it's always hard to follow my amazing colleagues, but hello, my name's Cora Fraley, and I'm the youth counselor in the Nenqayni program. My family is of Irish, English, and Shoshone descent. However, I've lived on the Secwepemc and Chilcotin territory most of my life. I've been part of the Nenqayni team for about 1.5 years, and I'm so blessed to work with this amazing team. My educational background is I'm a registered social worker with a specialization in child protection, as well as I have a graduate certificate in Aboriginal child and youth mental health. And I gladly just finished off my last master's paper yesterday, and I'll be submitting that and then finishing up my practicum and have a completed master's. I love working with the youth at Nenqayni and walking beside them on their healing journey. As a counselor for Indigenous youth, I really try to utilize a 2-eyed seeing approach, which is bringing the best of the Western ways of knowing and being and seeing that with one eye, and then using the other eye to see the best from the Indigenous worldview and way of being. And then when I'm able to sit in front of somebody, one of these amazing youth, that I'm able to bring the best of both worlds to provide them with as much healing opportunities as I possibly can. Another unique aspect of the counseling is that we do provide a lot of land-based healing activities. So I'm just going to share a little bit about our counseling program at Nenqayni. So we have a clinical team made of 5 different counselors at Nenqayni. We have 2 full-time counselors that work mainly in the family program, and myself being the one counselor that works in the youth program, as well as we have a wellness counselor that works with the youth in both the family program as well as the youth program. And he's also amazing and is able to provide healing opportunities and counseling for both the families and the youth on the weekends. We have a clinical team lead that guides us in all of our practices to make sure that we're doing the best job we can and bringing all of the evidence-based and wise practices for the youth and the families that we work with. Some of the things that we provide as a counseling team are one-to-one family and couples group sessions. We also have group counseling circles and workshops on various topics. Some of the examples of the workshop topics that we talk about could include workshops on self-care, healthy relationships, drum making from our amazing cultural workers, grief and loss, relapse prevention. We also provide well-briety and 12-step workshops, as well as family violence, social media safety, and intergenerational trauma and transmission. The amazing part of being the team at Nenqayni is that Nenqayni started 38 years ago, which is quite a long time. As long as I've lived in Williams Lake, Nenqayni's been an essential part of our team. However, over 38 years, we began very small as an alcohol and inhalant program. However, I just want to note that our team here at Nenqayni is really responsive to the needs of the community members and the communities that they come from. As both Angie and Taylor mentioned, that we work collaboratively with 15 different First Nations communities in our area, and they really guide us in what is going on for their community members and how we can best support them. So some of the things that we deal with right now is we're dealing with a lot of overdose crisis. We're dealing with a lot of heroin and crystal meth and stimulant addictions. So, you know, the realm of expertise through our whole team has quite expanded, and we are very much supported by the team and our leadership to go with our training and our experience so that we can provide that unique kind of outlook. And of course, as Angie said, everything we do really comes from that wellness wheel and that framework. And we really provide that in all of our treatment planning. So I'll just start with the next one. We're just going to talk a little bit about our programs. So I'm going to describe what a typical day in the family program would look like. So a typical day, we start, everybody usually gets up about 8 o'clock, and we start with our circle morning sage and prayer. Our families would go back to their individual rooms to provide a breakfast for their families. And at 8:45, we provide medication management and distribution. And so we make sure that everybody's medical needs are being met through their drug therapy in an effective way. So another unique component is that we are OAT trained. So that is opioid antagonist therapy. So we can also distribute Suboxone and methadone, as well as other harm reduction kind of approaches to the families and the youth that come to our center. At 9 o'clock, the families they take their children over to our daycare or to the school. And this provides opportunities for the parents to facilitate and repair or rebuild their relationships with various family members. After that, everybody returns to the main center, and then they have group activities. So sometimes it can be cultural or workshop time, and we address various topics and opportunities for community members to request any programming that they're kind of saying. So if we're working on grief and loss one week and they feel like they need a little bit more of that, they can come to any member of our team and ask for an individual or a family session to address more needs that they may feel. And that is one of the unique things, is that all of our treatment programming is involved. The clients are the main drivers of what they feel that they need, and that our team has hopefully got toolboxes full of skills that we can provide them with whatever they need whenever they need it at the center. After that morning workshop, which is kind of the lengthier one, they go back and pick up their kids, and we all join together, staff and families, and enjoy lunch and share a meal together. Then we also encourage our families to have some gym time or go outside and play together, because play together where we work, which is awesome. And we have great facilities outside, like a big toy and swing set and lots of room to play. Yet again, at 12:45, we offer medication management, and then we move into our second workshop. And some of the things that are unique in our second workshops is on certain days, and you'll hear Taylor talk about it a little bit later, but our families will participate in the equine assisted learning, or on Fridays, or even on the weekends, we provide a sweat lodge for the families. And then, of course, we wrap up that kind of day shift by having the families pick up their children. So I'm just going to pass it back over to Angie, who's our afternoon shift supervisor, and she'll just describe a little bit what our afternoon programming and maybe the weekend programming looks like. Thank you.
Thanks, Cora. At 2:45, our parents go and pick up our children from daycare and school, and we ensure there's time for that healthy transition time and support interaction and parent engagement. So the parents know what the children have been learning. They sit on the floor, they play drums, and they really come together with our workers. Our daycare and school staff build relationships with the parents as they introduce themselves in the children's circle of care and the youth circle of care. By building and fostering these relationships with the children and primary caregivers, our daycare and school staff create a matchmaking environment where the children see their parents in relationship and feel safe in entering into that relationship with the daycare staff and the teachers, and they're able to let their defenses down, and that shyness kind of goes away. And really quickly, we see engagement, we see attachment, we see them building relationships with our workers, and we see these little ones just open up beautifully, and these youth open up beautifully. And there quickly we see that great engagement, and especially in our young ones with all the drumming, they really get into it. We have all these beautiful pictures of little ones drumming on the floor with their parents. From 3 to 5, we have family time. This can include drawing and reading and baking and playing outside. This is a lot of the time when we see our knowledge keeper and our cultural staff come in and help with tobacco ties or with jingle dancing, and Bill spends a lot of time engaging our parents and young ones in drumming and singing. Cecil will come in and help make drums with everyone, and we just see this really wonderful exploration of culture through our knowledge keepers and the families as they come together, and it's just a really great foundation to build that family time. We have days where we have elders come in during that time and teach pine needle earrings or teach beading or jingle dancing. And then we do also have some recreation time where we'll have yoga come in, or we'll have kickboxing come in, and we'll do some recreational or fun stuff with the parents. We have dinner together in our village. We all share a meal together and spend that time together. And in the evenings, we have 2 days a week where we have ECE staff come in and do crafts and arts and games with the children. And if we have older children, we have another staff member come in, Kelsey, and she teaches workshops that are age appropriate, that pertain to self-esteem, internet safety, healthy relationships, those kind of things. And while in those 2 evenings, we're teaching our Gathering Our Medicine parenting course, which we'll go into more detail a little bit later in this program. And we do our AA programming then and introduce the 12-step program and how it works. And then we start slowly, they transition into running their own meetings with the volunteer there, so they get a really good sense of empowerment and ownership over that. And the rest of the evenings, we do workshops together as families, because addiction and trauma, grief, loss, it's a family disease. And so we build our workshops around positive communication. We build our workshops around foundational and cultural experiences to build the family back up and to allow them to rest in each other's care again. From 8 to 9 o'clock, the families go back into their rooms, and they kind of settle in for the night. And we do, again, medication management for evenings. And we are there to support with tea or anything we need to kind of just bring calm. And again, our knowledge keepers come in and our cultural workers come in and they'll smudge rooms and do prayers and help to just bring that calmness to our village of Nenqayni, and everyone goes into sleep. On weekends, we focus a lot on our family workshops and strengthening bonds through that healing journey. We look at land-based healing and exploration of historical and sacred sites. We do medicine pickings. We encourage that creation of a village by hosting potlucks on the weekend and having everybody bring traditional foods from their communities to share with us. And we have a wellness counselor that supports the caregivers and the youth on the weekend in any way that's needed. And Nenqayni creates opportunities for families to participate in all manners of outdoor activities, no matter what the season. We have skating, swimming, canoe trips, we have day trips, overnight activities. On weekends, again, we have our AA program for both the families and the youth, and this evolves really quickly with the clients kind of leading the group and taking ownership of those meetings. We have excellent volunteers that come in and work with our youth and with our families. And weekends, we also do our Wellbriety program with our youth, which is a culture-based teaching to support lifelong wellness in all areas of the medicine wheel. So we have a lot going on all the time that focuses on building families together into strong units, and we support them on their journey. And so I'm going to turn that over to Taylor again now.
Thank you, Angie. So in the youth program, our days are similar to the family program. We do work to incorporate school into our weekdays as well. So a typical weekday starts with breakfast. We do provide breakfast for the youth. We'll cook it together. Sometimes we'll have something warm prepared. Sometimes we'll have something lighter like smoothies. The youth get ready and we start each day off in a good way with sage and prayer. Then the youth will typically go to school for about an hour and a half before having a quick break and a snack. We'll then go into workshop until lunchtime. We have about an hour break for lunch where we'll eat as well as encourage some recreation, physical activity. After lunch, then we'll either have another block of school or some cultural programming like drum making, sweat ceremony, medicine picking. And then we close off each week with our equine assisted learning program, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. Cora went through a lot of the workshops that we offer. They're similar between the family and the youth program. Because we're attachment-based, client-centered, and trauma-informed, we really work to meet the youth where they're at. We do tailor each program to the individual needs, the age and stage of the individuals. We also really encourage community members to engage with their treatment planning, to set their own personal goals for their time with us. We do work through specific material with each group. As Cora mentioned, the Wellbriety 12-step program, which incorporates Indigenous tradition into our treatment approach to alcohol and substance misuse. We also, throughout the program, address mental health and healthy coping, emotional intelligence, nutrition, building and maintaining healthy relationships. All of our workshops and programming follow key concepts throughout the week. So we really work to build workshops off one another to solidify new processes and ways of understanding oneself and one relationships. When we've had a little bit of time with the youth, when we've really established and secured those safe relationships with them and them with each other, then we start to delve a little bit deeper into those heavier topics such as intergenerational and complex trauma, family and dating violence, grief and loss. Generally, over the last about a year and a half, we've started going through the grief and loss process off-site at the Gavin Lake Forest Education Center, which really helps to support our youth through their grief process in a culturally sensitive and safe way. We allow them to go through it at their own pace on the land, supported by tradition. So it's really unique and individual for each group. To close each program, we work through topics such as harm reduction, relapse prevention, and we do really in-depth going home plans with our youth as well to try and connect them to the supports and resources in their home communities. We know and acknowledge the hard work really starts when they go home, so we try to support them as much as possible in that. Weekends and afternoons continue with supportive programming following the same key themes. So I will hand it back over to Angie to talk a little bit more about our youth afternoons.
So we come on at 2:30 and we right away start in relationships. So we have snack and dime time. We sit next to the youth. We help them with homework and we just reconnect. We always start and end our days in relationship. And we have a meeting with our day staff and with our evening staff always to debrief so that there's the fullest continuum of care, so that everything is continuing on throughout the day and evening and everybody knows where everybody is at. After our little snack and reconnection, we'll either have a workshop or gym, depending on the activity. We may have an instructor in. We offer yoga, kickboxing, fancy and jingle dancing, as well as guided workouts and team sports activities, land-based activities, and sacred site explorations. We do dinner together, which is really important because food is such an important part of our culture, and it's such an important part of creating that environment and that invitation to rest in our care. So we do dinner and we encourage the youth to clean up with us. We don't have a chore chart where you're doing this, you're doing that, they're doing it with us, because the conversations over dishes and cleanup are great. They're a great way to come alongside and talk about everything and nothing and just build that relationship and attachment. And it's never you load the dishwasher or you clean the table, it's always we, and done in the context of a village and in relationship. And it's amazing how coming alongside and just being in that safe, normal, homey environment opens doors to insights into the youth and how they open up to you and start connecting and sharing and creating really strong therapeutic relationships. From 6 to 7, we do our workshops and we support the day shift workshops. So if they're going into intergenerational trauma, we'll do something like Frozen 2. We'll watch that movie and we'll look at how the girls came from 2 backgrounds and how the intergeneration trauma kind of flows through that movie as a light introduction to it. And then they'll do intergenerational trauma the next day. Or if we've done the emotion wheel, we'll watch something like Inside Out and look at how that ties in. So we really support the workshops through the day in a non-direct way, in a very come alongside, open the conversation way in the evening. And we do a lot of work with elders in the evening. So we have the youth plan a meal and budget it and create a traditional meal. We invite elders in, they share the food with the elders, they care for their elders, and then the elders teach them something. They share beading, they share dancing, they share medicine making, they share how to make pine needle earrings. And through that, we hear traditionals and stories and oral histories, and we're really connecting our elders back to our youth. And we've seen incredible things happen since we've introduced this program, not only for our youth and families, but for the elders in our community, where they're just excited to come into Nenqayni and share that information and share that tradition. And it's spreading like a healthy force. This engagement with the young people and with the elders in our community is spreading outside of Nenqayni into community and bringing more and more elders within Nenqayni's doors to share their knowledge. So it's an incredible way to preserve knowledge and tradition. In the evening in the youth program, from about 8 to 9, we do self-care, we have free time, we have evening snack because we close in relationship and we want to have that tea and that chat time. And then we'll do a meditation in bed and stretch. And we always have our counselors available at any time for our youth. So in the evening, if they're struggling or if something comes up, we can reach out to our counselors and bring that support right back in. And that's kind of a look at our afternoon youth programming. And I'm going to turn it over, I think, now to Taylor for equestrian learning. So if we could have those slides.
While we have a couple seconds here, I actually have a question that is just a personal one that kind of came up for me. And you mentioned very, very briefly a little bit about social media safety work. And I was just wondering if someone could, I was wondering if within that work, we also talked about, the skills of critical thinking as we go about digesting content from the internet. We live in a very different age now where misinformation is rapid and and I just wanted to know briefly if any of that is chatted about in the social media safety work that you guys do. I think it's phenomenal. Really very cool.
We have a 4-week safety program that we've developed for media addiction, the lies told on social media. So how we look at, this person looks like they're flying to Bermuda, but they're really by their window, and how there's so much misrepresentation on social media. We also talk about the comparing our lives in social media and safety. So it's actually a 4-week course, and we break it down and go quite in depth with that information.
Very cool. I think it's a really it's not often talked about, but social media, especially over the last year with COVID, has, it's a massive, massive part of how we can contribute to emotional and mental well-being, is just manage our expectations and our habits around how we access those tools, right? Very cool to hear the work's going on. Taylor, take it away. Sorry that I interrupted.
Thank you. So equine assisted therapy is where I started my own healing journey many years ago. So this program is really close to my heart. I'm really excited to be able to share it with you. I've been teaching equine assisted learning for individuals, schools, groups, families, youth at risk, and organizations since 2015, when I received my coach certification from EAL Canada. I founded the EAL program at Nenqayni through my business Connecting Equus in 2017, which is actually how I became connected with the organization initially. We can go to the next slide, please, Cynthia. Equine assisted learning, it's also called equine facilitated wellness, personal development. There's many names for it, but at its base, it's an experiential method of developing and supporting life and relationship skills. So a lot of our photos, you'll see different messaging, things being done with the horses. We do technical riding as well, and the youth really enjoy getting to learn the fundamentals of horsemanship. But we work through a lot of really specific objectives as well. So the photos that you'll see there is an exercise, a very powerful exercise we use, where the youth are encouraged to write negative feelings they may have towards themselves or others, maybe negative things they've been called. It's kind of introduced as a bit of a cathartic exercise. Horses are masters of self-care, so long as their ethological needs are being met. So in response to the youth, writing these more negative messages on them, we often get a lot of fear responses. So fight, flight, freeze, and we can kind of dissect and debrief the different responses from the horses. And then as soon as we change our messaging, as soon as we turn to positive messaging, we'll either have the youth write compliments to each other, erase these negative things, go through different processes to kind of address those negative feelings. You can really see the responses in the horses going from that fear response to a real emotional release, a lot of self-care. We point out the different things that horses do for self-care, the stress releasers they do. So it's a really powerful and visual way to see the different effects of our language, our feelings, our thoughts, that sort of thing. So we can go on to the next slide, please. Our EAL program supports leadership and teamwork, helps community members to overcome fears and uncertainties. It enhances creative problem solving, increases self-esteem and self-efficacy. It's a really unique way to test new processes in a non-threatening environment. Horses can't lie, they don't hold grudges, they don't manipulate. And so we get really honest feedback from them. Whereas we don't necessarily get that really honest feedback from all of our personal relationships. So when we're testing out new ways of being and knowing, horses are a really authentic way to do that. Also, the relational aspect of horses, they mirror our inner selves. And given that horses behave in the same hypervigilant way that many trauma survivors do, equine assisted learning provides an opportunity to rework some of those relationships with ourselves and others. And it's a fun and exciting way to get the youth and the families out of doors and on the land. So we can go to the next slide, please. Some of our winter, we run EAL all year round. We've had -30, -35, and I've gone into the classroom. It's been time for EAL, and I'm like, girls, you want to just postpone to next week? We'll make up the hours next week. No, we're going. We're out there in -35 and all of our everything, and they're really committed to the program. And we've had some really great feedback over the years, both in observable and self-disclosed skills such as self-regulation, self-awareness, relationship building improvements from our young people and from the families who participate in the program. You can go to the next slide, please. yeah, so this is the last slide. It's actually a photo of me and my cousins, but you know, it just kind of shows like the fun, playful nature. A lot of teamwork goes on with our EAL program, and a lot of the continuing care calls that I feel that I engage with often include updates and check-ins on how the youth and families' horses are doing. They create really strong bonds with the animals while they're there, and they often like to check in. So thank you. And I believe I am passing over, to Cora for continuing care.
Thank you, Taylor. So we have a continuing care program at Nenqayni, and that includes 2 part-time continuing care coordinators for each program that reach out to all of our community members, former and those that are just leaving us, at 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. Interviews of our former community members are completed at each of these points to identify any further needs of service or support. So that might mean, so some of our youth, at least, I can speak to the youth, have recognized that once they're in the community, maybe they've struggled with a relapse or they're finding that they're slipping into old patterns. And we can sometimes include and bring them back in using our virtual program that I believe we'll be talking about a little bit later, that has been a blessing from COVID, that we've realized that we can utilize these new techniques and ways of connecting with people from a distance. So we've created a 6 or a 7 week kind of online program that touches on a lot of different things that we would do in person. However, we would also give our youth and our families opportunity to return to our center. They would always receive priority when it comes down to returning to the center. So if somebody's struggling and they really need to come back to us, maybe 3 months or 6 months down the road, or even a few years later, we've had families return, maybe with their own children or their children's children. So that's one of the unique things that we have at Nenqayni. Any of our community members can reach out to us using our 1-800 number. We also have Facebook sites that are set up, or they can always email us and are able to request to meet with any of our community members. Maybe they want to connect with Cecil or Bill to touch on some of the teachings that they shared. Maybe they'd like to speak with our nurse, Tamara, about some health issues that they might be a little concerned about talking with their family members, or myself or any of the other members of our counseling team, where then we would be able to make arrangements for them to have some one-to-one virtual or over the phone sessions. We are in the process of making some changes to our continuing care program, just based on our new access to technology and those kind of things. So I'll just pass that over to Taylor just to let you know what's on the horizon for Nenqayni and our continuing care program.
Thanks, Cora. One of the aspects that we've been experiencing great success in our online program is reconnecting with graduated youth and offering that continued support and psychoeducation, like Cora mentioned. So we really feel that this is a testament to the strong attachments that we've formed with the youth in person. And so we can continue to build on, you know, those strengths and relationships in a really good way. So, you know, we've identified this online platform, Zoom and different technologies, is really a way to stay connected with the youth, allow the youth to stay connected with each other. That's something that we've identified as well. Moving to a more online space is they really find a lot of supports in each other. And so if we can, you know, kind of bring that together in a more concrete way, I think we can really expand and improve our continuing care program. So this will be a big focus of ours going forward, just building off of what we already do. I want to mention too that our continuing care program, like our other programs, are based off the medicine wheel. So we aim to assess information about community members' physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health, and encourage really balancing all these areas in their continued healing journeys. So I would like to pass this along to, I believe, Tamara or Cora to talk about our intake process.
Thanks, Taylor. That is me. My name is Tamara Brigden. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm an LPN, so I'm the nurse here at Nen-ky-knee. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about our intake process. So applications for intake in both the family and youth program can come from many sources. These can be self-referrals, NADAP workers, drug and alcohol counselors, social workers, guardians, harm reduction workers, just to name a few. The intake application is fairly lengthy, so we do recommend that someone connected to the applicant assist them with the completion of the documents. We are also available for assistance with this process, as we do want to provide a streamlined, positive experience that starts with hope from the very initial contact we have. There are questions related to mental health history, previous suicidal ideation or attempts, past trauma, along with any other agency involvement, community resources accessed, and supports utilized. There is a comprehensive medical assessment that needs to be completed prior to attendance, as well as a TB skin test. Utilizing this information not only gives us an overall view medically and historically of the person or the family, but also allows us to begin treatment planning, because essentially this starts from the very first contact. So the youth program also conducts a telephone interview with the applicant and support person, which allows us to elaborate on certain areas from the application and continue that relationship building, providing hope, and it strengthens the treatment planning process. The family program at this time does not complete a pre-entry telephone interview. Our intake process and coordination is currently under review and development as part of our quality improvement, and in order to align the process throughout both programs. We at Nenqayni, we strive to remove the barriers and want to improve our intake procedures in order to facilitate relationship building and provide deeper levels of hope from the very beginning, and to streamline a very somewhat daunting process. So my apologies, Cole and Angie, I don't have it in front of me who I'm passing back to. Cora. I see you waving. It's yours.
However, you talked a lot about what I was going to talk about. So I just wanted to reiterate, as part of the clinician team that makes up, that our assessment process really does start with that first intake. When we first gather that information, we talk as a team, we try to get in touch with the families to get more information, or with our youth program, we actually do a formalized interview with them, kind of to assess their readiness, different things that are going on for them, and how we can make sure that we have what they need physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually available for them here at Nenqayni. So that might include, you know, if they're wearing braces, when do we have to get those braces tightened? Do we need to get them glasses if they've lost their glasses? Checking in with when the last time they've seen a dentist was, you know, to make sure that we're addressing all of those various needs. Of course, I mean, I don't want to bore you, but I will mention that we do have quite an extensive assessment tools at our availability. So some of those things include, as Tamara mentioned, if there's a strong history of suicidal ideation, sometimes we explore that. You know, we look at the duration, frequency, and intensity of how often those are being experienced, so that we can assess that, so that we are prepared and ready for them when they come to us in the center. We use various different assessment tools within our team. However, I'm just very aware of the time. So if anybody wants to ask about the assessment tools, that you can invite that either via email or through the questioning section in the next time, because that's kind of the boring stuff, but that's just clinical. So if any of our clinicians out there want to kind of explore what tools we use to assess and how we create our treatment plans, as everybody spoke about, we kind of all really contribute to the treatment plans. However, it is up to our clinicians to formalize that into documentation, which then leads to being accountable to our accreditation process and to the WISAC, Interior Health and First Nations Health Authority, who also are our funders. So I'll pass it back to Tamara Brigden, our LPN, just to talk a little bit about our medication management.
Thank you, Cora. So medication management. I am an LPN. I graduated in 2011 from Thompson Rivers University. I spent the majority of my nursing career working for Interior Health Authority, primarily in emergency. But I have spent 3 years working rural on reserve First Nations, and now I'm in mental health and addictions. So I do have a wide knowledge base to utilize within my nursing practice. So we do have a local physician that Nenqayni has worked closely with over the years. He is one of the leading pioneers here in Williams Lake in relation to opioid antagonist therapy and alcohol use disorder treatment. So these are 2 areas that we are capable to providing service for. A number of our staff, as Cora had mentioned, have taken introductory pharmacology courses, and we do have continuing educational opportunities to ensure we are maintaining best practices. We do also have access to First Nations Health Authority Doctor of the Day for telehealth appointments for any non-urgent complaints or concerns that do arise. And as Cora mentioned, we have the ability to coordinate other health-related services locally while community members are with us. So this would include both urgent and non-urgent and be relevant to medical emergencies, wound care, dental, optometry, foot care, just to name a few. Nenqayni does have a medication administration and management policy that does include storage of prescribed medications, liaising with prescribing professionals, chart reviews and updates as required, and documentation. So I generally work primarily within the youth program, but I am always available to any of our community members, regardless of which program they are involved with, including our continuing care program. And I am always willing to advocate for our community members and assist them with navigation through any barriers to access and receive the care and services they need, whether this occurs in a preparatory phase, while they're with us for in-person programming, or through our continuing care program.
Sorry, I'm also just very aware of time, and we have a few other things, but I noticed that we're about 11:15 there, Cole, and I wanted to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to ask some questions. So of course, I was going to just briefly touch on our accreditation process and who we're funded by, but I kind of tried to squeeze that in. But if anybody has that, we're very proud of our accreditation process, our ongoing training, being accountable to our funders, you know, getting the most up-to-date information through our YSAC team, which is Youth Solvent and Addictions Committee that's right across Canada. And of course, you know, utilizing that two-eyed seeing approach in all of the work that we do. But Cole, maybe you could let us know where we are for time-wise, because we do have a few other topics, but maybe we might not have enough time to speak to all of those.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we have at least 5 minutes or so to address questions. So I would say about another 5 to 10 minutes, just because we have an overwhelming number of questions that are kind of backed up, and I want to make sure we get to a few of them at least.
Yeah. So maybe I'll pass that on to Annie, and she can determine what programs. We've got a couple more topics: the Gathering Our Medicine, Nutrition and Wellness, and Life Skills. So maybe we could speak to those very quickly.
I'm going to combine them all really quick here. So we work for a great institution, and Nenqayni focuses on quality improvement and is incredible supporter of lifelong learning for all its staff. So Nenqayni is always looking to wise and best practices to create the strongest program possible for our supported community members. And one of those new programs we brought in was Gathering Our Medicine. We worked with Denise Finley, and we started a new parenting program. And the measures of success with this philosophy program have been incredible. We started using the language and the attachment approach and the wayfinder approach with youth, and some amazing things have happened. One, we've had no AWOLs. We've actually, I work closely with the RCMP in Williams Lake, and they're like, what's going on? Why are you never calling us? Why? And I said, because no one wants to run away. They're staying. They want to be there. They want to be engaged with us. They're forming these incredible attachments. And the other thing with the new programming, with the family programming, the Gathering Our Medicine program, is we've seen huge successes within our families. We've seen families where all the children are in foster care, parents are living in shelters, go through the programming through Nenqayni and with support and with safety planning, and we reach back into their village and communities and help build a safety plan with those communities. And we've actually seen those families come back together. And through our Canadian continuing care programs, with the Gathering Our Medicine program, we stay in touch with those parents, and we're able to continually support those parents and find supports within the communities. And now we have those parents reaching back again, and we have them speaking into their communities and asking, can my grandparents come with, the grandchild they're raising, or I'd like my sister, and we're helping them start the process and the intake process for community members and families from their own communities come in. And if we could just pull up the slides really quick from Gathering Our Medicine, I'll let Bill do an introduction into how we create that space, sacred space, and invite the parents in to join us in that philosophy that they are their children's first best answer, that the parents are in the lead, that relationship is what we build on. And we know that Indigenous families have that inside of them, that way of knowing and being, to strengthen that healing and strengthen that relationship between Indigenous youth and caregivers. So if we can go to the next slide, and we'll show the sacred space Bill creates for that program.
Thank you, Angie. Gathering Our Medicine is a wonderful program, parenting program that has come about. And when I started, I was asked to create a safe space for them. As we always start off with drumming and singing and smudge and prayer, I started to think about what Gathering Our Medicine meant. And it meant to bring our communities back together, bring our parents back to their children. So this space that I created with good intent, I put our medicine in the middle with the sage bowl. That small eagle feather and a small drumstick represents our children. And around that is the 4 bigger eagle feathers that represent our parents and our communities, our families. Surrounding those are 4 commitment sticks that remind us of our commitment, not only to ourselves, but to our communities, to our families, and to our children. On the one end, you've got a braid of sweetgrass and some tobacco ties that represent our medicine. On the other end of the table, you've got a grandfather rock that represents our Mother Earth. Been here for many generations. And then you got a small shell full of water that represents our life. For without water, we could not survive. With everything else that we do, we bring in that connection. The connection from little to big, from the youngest to the oldest. And this is what Gathering Our Medicine does. A lot of our people have lost that connection, that way of being. And through this way, we allow our people, our parents, to represent their children once again. We teach them that they are the way. They are the ones that know their children the best. They are the answer to their children's future. We talk about connection a lot at Nenqayni because that's where it begins. Whether it's getting down on the floor and doing a puzzle with the little ones or reading a book, once we build that connection, we never lose it. It's always there. Through sweat lodge ceremonies or whatever ceremony we're doing, it's all about connection. And that's the beautiful thing about Nenqayni, is that we connect ourselves to our people the way it was meant to be. I just want to thank you all for being here today in a good way. And thank you, Angie. I'll hand it back to you. Kokshamuk.
If we could have the next slide. In this little show, we'll go really quickly through it. This is Bill drumming and inviting everybody invitation. And in this moment when he drummed, we actually had all the children drumming and singing and engaging with the parents. Can we have the next slide, please? And this is our graduation slides. After they've completed the program, they get a write-up and a certificate of completion. They blanket their children and walk across the bridge with them, and we have a celebration of graduation ceremony. Next slide, please. This is our circle set up with the bridge that they walk across to gather their children to them and walk back as a family unit. Next slide. And these are some of our youth who were the shyest youth you've ever seen. They, wouldn't look up. They were very quiet. And we brought in Dancing Water Sandry, and she started teaching the traditional dancing, and we used this relationship approach and the jingle dancing. And by the end of the program, these young women did a traditional jingle healing dance for all the grads, for the families, for the youth, for everyone, for staff. And the girls who weren't comfortable still put on their ribbon skirts and stood in solidarity with their sisters. And it was just this most beautiful expression of how culture brings us together, brings us confidence, brings us a sense of knowing and being, and ties us to who we are. And they're able to do this dance and just glow and grow and become these incredible empowered young women. And we're very grateful to the elders that come in and support that, and to our knowledge keepers who come in and support that sharing of traditions. Next slide, please. That's actually the last slide. So we also want to check really quickly on the incredible support we have from our community agencies in Williams Lake. We have victim service in the Williams Lake RCMP come out for dinner and to play games and roast marshmallows with our youth and our families. And in that way, we're bridging that gap in matchmaking. So before those agencies are ever needed, that fear is gone, those barriers are broke down, and we're working together as a community to build relationships. We have a lady who works in community, Dancing Water Sandy, who's a knowledge keeper. She shares regalia making, traditional teas, medicine salves, and she comes out and teaches our jingle and fancy dancing. We work with Denise Kai Outreach Manager and teach Adulting 101. We work with Lori from the Peace Program to teach healthy relationships. We work with Become the Change program with our single fathers. We work with Whitney Spearing and Brittany Clemens of the Sugarcane Archaeology to teach about historical sites and the history of the First Nation peoples. We have many different elders come in and teach magazine bag making and loom and beading. We have somebody from the Women's Contact Society that comes in and tells us about all the different assets and communities, so that when our families and when our youth leave, they know that they have this asset map of wonderful community resources that they can reach out to. We teach a flexible 7-week series on healthy relationships within ourselves, friends, food, significant others, and getting along with people we don't like, whether it's in school or in work. And how do we do that? We talk about relationship safety and internet and facilitating relationships in a faith way. That way, we work with the Boys and Girls Clubs, with the Healthy Living Program through Three Corners Health Service, and we look to communities and what services and supports and agencies that our communities have when returning home. And this way, we can create these safety nets for them and asset maps for our community members, so they know that they have support available and that they can reach back to us and we can help them with that. And we teach a life skills program. And we teach a nutrition and wellness program, and Tamara kind of teaches that through the Diabetes Canada Society and teaches all forms of healthy living. And I'm going to turn it over to her really, really quickly so she can just touch on that, and then we'll open up for answers and then close with our knowledge keepers sharing the importance of culture.
Okay, so thank you. I'm going to do kind of a big sort of bit of information on our fitness program as well, but I'm going to skip that. So I just want to talk to you about our nutrition program. So Nenqayni does follow and promote Canada's Indigenous food guide. So I am also a Diabetes Canada Food Skills for Families facilitator. So Food Skills for Families programming is a series of once weekly sessions for 6 weeks, approximately 3 hours in length each. It is an interactive educational and life skill building. Each weekly session involves preparing and cooking several different dishes along with educational components and discussion. Some of the educational pieces include food safety, portion sizing and portion distortion, nutrition labels and how to read them, whole foods versus processed, food marketing and children, mindfulness, goal setting, and meal planning and budgeting. So each week there are takeaway exercises and each session builds on the last. So I have secured funding from Diabetes Canada to run concurrent 6-week programming in both the family and youth programs. So this will be a new addition to our in-person programming. And I'm also in the process of obtaining my food safe educator status. So that's another thing that we will be hoping to offer certification to our community members in the future. Thank you.
Cecil, I just wanted you to touch on the importance of the culture and the healing journey and share the different ways we support and provide those opportunities to explore cultural ways.
Yes, some of the things that we do is a sweat lodge. The sweat lodge is a big part of our healing journey. The sweat lodge we consider as the mother womb. And when we go into mother womb, we go in there to restart our spirit, to get that energy back. And the mother womb is just like when we're in our mother's womb, the sweat lodge, we call it the mother's womb. It's because when we go in there, we let go of everything we need to let go of. And then we come out of that sweat lodge after the 4th round, just like a baby, brand new, connected back to Mother Earth and connected back with our mother. And then we come back out into a fresh start again. And we let go of what we need to let go of. Also, we do the drumming. The drumming is the heartbeat of our nation. The drumming is what brings us to gather together, to be able to hear one another's voice. And it brings people out, when you're shy, when you're hurting, when you hear the medicine of the drums, it brings us back together. And this is one great thing that we do here in Nen-ky-knee. We also go out and learn some of the medicines of the land that are out there that provide the health and the whatever we need. There's every medicine out on this land that'll provide in any sickness that we have, whether it's physical, emotionally, spiritually. We have medicines and we learn about the medicines together. We go out in the land and see what medicines we have and talk about what they're used for. I'd like to thank you again. If there's any questions or anything need to be, we'll have time, hopefully, at the end here. Thank you.
Great. I'm so floored by the comprehensive nature of Nen-ky-knee. My hands go up to each and every one of you, as well as everybody else that works at Nen-ky-knee, to create this kind of this supportive environment for families and youth. I'm really amazed. We're gonna try and get through a few questions here today. It's the nature of the conversation. Sometimes it doesn't go to plan. That's all right. We're just gonna proceed as normal. So one of the questions that I really wanted to chat a little bit about comes from Jody. And she says, it sounds like you make an incredible effort to eliminate barriers in your program, but as we all know, barriers always remain. It's kind of one of those unattainable things. So Jody was wondering, what barriers are you still seeing, or do you suspect that are limiting individuals, families, or youth from accessing your services?
I can speak to this. We've been, over this most recent shutdown, we've been really focusing on removing barriers to accessing service, going as far to decolonize our intake process. One barrier we suspect is due to the fact about 80 to 85% of our youth applications come through social workers, mainly guardianship social workers. So people who are really familiar with, the paperwork, the process of referring, accessing these kinds of services. So like Tamara had mentioned, we're working on being able to provide one-to-one staff assistance right from the beginning, right from the initial phone call. So rather than, referring people back to the website, go to the website, download the application, work to fill it out, that sort of thing. We're really working on relationship first. So, if it's a family or an individual calling, talking to them, listening to them, what do you need, is assessing even if it's a good fit. If we are referring people to our application process first, we're really not even, giving them a chance to decide whether we're going to serve their needs. So bringing it back to, really relationship first. And then if there are barriers, whether it be, technology, language, any kind of things within those intake processes, we have that relationship and we can really assist them through it.
Great. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Taylor, for taking that question on. I think that, intakes and just general are one of the big barriers. And like you kind of alluded to there, that barrier in and of itself can be comprised of a lot of different issues that an individual could be suffering from or experiencing. So I appreciate that approach of trying to provide one-to-one support, because it's going to look different for everybody as to how they're struggling or why. So I think we have time for one more question. I'm just going to paraphrase one a little bit here. It's from Alexandro. Obviously, you guys, as the Wellness Center Society, have a host of programs that you guys kind of offer, and a host of things that you do. And the question that was asked is, how is it determined if these programs are actually working for the youth, helping them to overcome their trauma? So in a nutshell, what is your what is your review process? What it looks like? How are you really making sure that these programs are actually achieving what we want them to achieve? You know what I mean?
We have a few ways that we measure success. I'll talk to one and then I'll pass it over to Cora and Taylor to talk to the other. One of the measurements of success is engagement. If there's continued engagement, if we see continual growth after they leave the program, if we see them reaching back for support, and we see that, that's a huge measure of success for us as a program, that we see the youth that come into our program growing, becoming well, taking that wellness back into their community, and then reaching back for us and staying in that relationship and that attachment. So that's one way we measure success and follow the youth on their healing journey. And it's the same, one of the ways we follow families through their healing journey. We're reaching out to their communities, we're reaching out to them, and we're following them through their success and helping navigate that lifelong wellness journey. The other ways we measure success are a lot more technical, and they involve some of the programs that we have for intake. And so I'm going to pass that over to Cora now.
Hi, so I guess we're going to talk a little bit about those boring assessments that nobody really wants to hear. So we really utilize evidence-based assessment tools that are utilized right across a lot of Indigenous treatment programs right across the country. As previously stated, we are part of the YSAC team, so that's the Youth Solvent Action Committee. And some of the tools that we use that are used at a lot of other youth resources across the country are the DUCE, the Drug Screening Assessment Tool. And the Drug Screening Assessment Tool contains 196 questions that can be broken down into 9 separate domains that talk about different things from mental health concerns, anxiety, work-related or school-related kind of problems, breaks it down into different sections, which really allow us to kind of examine that individual or that family and exactly what their wellness needs are pertaining to their substance of choice and how that use has affected them in those separate domains. Now, we utilize that within the first 7 days, as well as we utilize it right before they go home. And there's really great tools that happen that are embedded in some of our computerized systems, which is our addiction management system. And they can actually see right from the get-go, there's a chart that shows them where they were at the beginning and to where they are at 8 weeks. And they can see, in what domains that they've seen improvements on. And that statistical data is kind of collected at a national level, not only through our organization, but then the YSAC team has these great researchers who actually take that statistical data, quantify it and qualify it, and put it into amazing reports and send it out to, all of those amazing academics, myself included, that really go to prove statistically what we know to be true, that culture is healing. There's another assessment that we use that is called the Native Wellness Assessment. Same deal. We kind of do that at the beginning within the first 7 days. We do it at the end. And both of those assessments also can be part of our continuing care plan so that we can really see that longitudinal data to see how effective our programs are. And like I said, a big part of being part of these larger organizations with regards to accreditation, and I apologize if I'm boring all of you that are non-academics, but I get really excited about this because out there in academia, there's not a lot of evidence-based saying, because we put all of that kind of focus on research from that Western way of knowing. And what we're doing as an organization right across the country is shifting to demonstrate what we know in our hearts, in our minds, and with the families that we walk beside, that culture is healing. And we're making sure that in the background of the organization, through at least our clinical teams, that we're generating that statistical data to prove that what we're doing, these cultural opportunities, taking opportunities to sweat, to pray, to learn how to smudge, how to sing songs and drum in a traditional way, that we're proving that through statistical data, which is kind of really exciting. It might be boring for other people, but it's my passion. And I think the whole team at Nenqayni, if you're part of the clinician group or not part, we all know what our outcome measures are. Angie mentioned earlier, having a youth program that in the last year has had no AWOLs is pretty much unheard of in treatment program. So, putting that relationship there, as well as that combination of that Western way of knowing and those assessment processes, as well as the culture, really shows that we're doing effective work. And we hear it not only from the youth or the families, but also from these larger communities who give us constant feedback and challenge us to, meet the needs of their community. So thank you for that question. I apologize, but that kind of gets me excited. And like I said, all of us are really lifelong learners. I think that's the way that the Creator wanted us to be, that sacred teaching of being humble and knowing that even though we know all of these different things, there's so much more for us to know. And just as the families, we might have academia, our families and our youth teach us so much as well. So it's that transfer of knowledge, that relationship that really proves what we're doing is beneficial, not only for our families and our youth, but also hopefully for the communities and right across our country and maybe even the world internationally. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. We ask, and it's an important question, all of us that work within Indigenous organizations, recognizing that oftentimes we exist within a wider scope of a colonial institution or collection. And the reality is to communicate the efficacy of the work that our elders and knowledge keepers are doing in conjunction with organizations, we often have to have that data. Otherwise, they just don't listen. So it's nice to hear that that's being generated through an Indigenous lens with some of the assessment tools that you're using. That's really great. Unfortunately, we're well over time here today, and I apologize to everybody that we didn't get to your questions, and thanks everyone for sticking around that is still here. I'd like now to invite Bill and Cecil to end us in a good way. Before I do that, I'd just like to say thanks everybody very much for participating and attending our session here today. Later on in the month, we're going to have a session on with Ursi that focuses on Indigenous lens. Indigenous lenses. Thanks, and Indigenous lens on health systems transformation and research. So timely, actually, a little bit related to what Cora was just speaking on. So yeah, thanks very much again, and Bill and Cecil, please take it away.
Thank you very much, and we'd like to finish off with our song and prayer again. This song here comes to us from the Lakota Sioux people. There's words in this song, and it talks about this red road that we're on. And it's this song says, grandfathers, we thank you for this red road that we walk on. We pray to you, grandfathers, which is Chanupa. We thank you. This song means a whole lot, you know, for the ones that are seeking the red road or the ones that are on the red road. Chanupa kile yuha chawaki alo tumka shela yela maya yelo Chanupa kile yuha chawaki yelo tunka shela pela maya yelo Chanupa kile yuha chawaki yelo tunka shela ila maya yelo Chanupa kile yuha chawaki yelo tunka shela ila maya yelo Wait, Brother Bill finishes off with a prayer. Wait.
Cook Smoke. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today to join us in a good way to help Nenqayni grow throughout the lands so that everybody knows what we do here for our people in a good way. We ask the Creator at this time just to be with us, to guide us and bless us. Watch over our families and our friends. Take care of those that are in the hospital sick, or those that may be sick at home. We ask the Creator to watch over those that are grieving loss of loved ones at this time also. Heal their hearts. We ask the Creator to guide those that are crossing over to make their journey swift. We ask Creator just to take care of all your children across Turtle Island at this time, from the oldest to the youngest, and bless each and every one of us. And once again, Creator, we thank you for opening our eyes and seeing Mother Earth's beauty one more day. Kokstamuk, all my relations.
Thanks very much. Until next time, take care.